I am reporting on the startling financial realities hidden behind reality television's most coveted prizes. When Richard Goodall, a beloved middle school janitor from Terre Haute, Indiana, captured the nation's attention and secured the winning title on America's Got Talent, the public celebrated what appeared to be an instant million-dollar rags-to-riches transformation. However, our investigative financial desk has reviewed the standard contractual framework of these network competitions, revealing a much more complex economic reality. The widely advertised $1 million prize is not a direct deposit that hits a winner's bank account the morning after the confetti falls. Instead, network executives structure this grand prize as a long-term financial annuity, typically dispersed in incremental payments over a grueling 40-year period. For a man of Goodall's age, waiting 4 decades to collect the entirety of his winnings presents a significant logistical and practical hurdle. The alternative option, which the vast majority of television champions are practically forced to take, is a heavily reduced lump sum cash out. Once you factor in the massive federal, state, and local tax obligations that immediately apply to game show winnings, that legendary million-dollar figure shrinks to a mere fraction of its advertised glory, often leaving winners with roughly $300,000 in actual usable capital.
This massive financial discrepancy operates as a jarring, high-stakes wake-up call for independent artists who are abruptly thrust into the ruthless economics of the mainstream entertainment industry. Goodall, who spent decades managing the modest, predictable salary of an educational facility custodian, suddenly found himself forced to navigate an overwhelming labyrinth of wealth management, complex tax liabilities, and the looming threat of predatory financial advising. This rapid transition from sweeping school hallways to deciphering highly complex legal financial documents highlights the massive unspoken psychological burden placed on reality television champions. Our industry sources indicate that while the victory provided unquestionable, life-altering security, the initial shock of the network payout structure forced Goodall to become a highly defensive financial strategist virtually overnight, proving that surviving the music business requires far more than just a flawless vocal pitch. Reporting further on this unprecedented transition, we turn our attention to the immediate personal aftermath of Goodall's national television triumph. In the high-octane world of Hollywood, the standard operating procedure for a newly crowned reality star involves an aggressive media blitz, cross-country press junkets, and immediate studio recording sessions to capitalize on fleeting algorithmic momentum.
However, our coverage reveals that Richard Goodall executed a highly unconventional maneuver that completely disrupted standard industry expectations. Just days after the confetti cleared and the massive viewership numbers were tallied, Goodall entirely bypassed the typical celebrity victory lap to finalize a deeply personal commitment. He rushed directly to the altar to marry his longtime fiancée, Angie, grounding himself in the very relationship that had sustained him long before the television cameras ever arrived in his hometown. From a journalistic perspective, this immediate pivot back to his domestic roots was a powerful statement of intent. It signaled to the corporate entertainment machine that his core values were not up for negotiation. But integrating a brand new marriage into the overwhelming chaos of sudden, inescapable national fame presented an entirely new set of psychological challenges. Overnight, the couple's quiet, blue-collar existence was permanently shattered by the glaring spotlight of public recognition. A simple trip to a local grocery store was suddenly complicated by fans, media inquiries, and the inescapable weight of being a public figure. Our sociological analysis of newly famous individuals indicates that this sudden loss of anonymity is often the most destabilizing factor in a reality star's life.
Goodall and his new wife were forced to actively build a protective emotional fortress around their relationship to shield it from the toxic, intrusive elements of internet celebrity culture. By prioritizing his marriage over immediate commercial exploitation, Goodall fundamentally rejected the industry's demand that an artist must sacrifice their personal life on the altar of public entertainment. This calculated retreat allowed him to establish a vital psychological anchor, securing his mental health before the inevitable demands of corporate music executives could consume his schedule. The narrative of the humble janitor remained intact because he absolutely refused to let the publicity apparatus dictate his new reality. As our broadcast continues, we must examine the intense professional collisions that occurred when Goodall's viral momentum intercepted the highest echelons of the mainstream music establishment. Goodall did not merely win his season through sympathy, he secured his victory by flawlessly executing a towering rock anthem that immediately caught the attention of the song's original architects. Our entertainment desk confirmed that Journey's legendary founding guitarist, Neal Schon, personally intervened in Goodall's trajectory, leading to an unprecedented collaborative performance. From a reporter's standpoint, this was not just a heartwarming television segment, it was a high-stakes, real-time audition in front of the global rock community.
Stepping onto a stage alongside certified rock royalty instantly upgraded Goodall's status from a viral television novelty to a legitimate, industry-recognized vocal powerhouse. However, this massive endorsement brought an overwhelming, almost suffocating level of professional expectation. The transition from singing in echoing school hallways to standing shoulder to shoulder with stadium touring veterans forces a terrifying psychological shift. Suddenly, Goodall was no longer being judged against other amateur contestants, he was being actively measured against the historical legacy of iconic frontmen like Steve Perry. Industry analysts point out that this specific type of rapid elevation often operates as a double-edged sword. While the validation from legendary figures like Neal Schon provides unparalleled market credibility, it simultaneously demands that the artist immediately produce original commercial hits to sustain that elite positioning. The corporate record labels circling Goodall expected him to seamlessly transform this viral rock moment into a sustainable multi-million-dollar recording career. The sheer gravity of having to follow up a historic television moment with a commercially viable studio album creates a pressure cooker environment that has historically broken many newly discovered artists. The narrative shifted dramatically from a feel-good underdog story to a brutal test of artistic endurance.
Goodall was forced to rapidly decipher the complex, often predatory mechanics of the recording industry, all while carrying the immense weight of proving that his legendary primetime performance was not just a one-time fluke, but the foundation of a lasting, credible musical legacy on the world stage. Digging deeper into the aftermath of his victory, our investigation brings us to the profound geographic and cultural dilemma that threatened to permanently alter Goodall's core identity. The established blueprint for mainstream entertainment success dictates an immediate, non-negotiable relocation to coastal industry hubs like Los Angeles or Nashville. Talent agencies and corporate managers consistently pressure newly crowned stars to abandon their rural or suburban lives to immerse themselves entirely in the Hollywood ecosystem. However, our field reports indicate that Goodall engaged in a fierce internal and external battle to defend his connection to Terre Haute, Indiana. For decades, he had established himself as a beloved foundational pillar within his local educational community, sweeping the floors and actively shaping the daily environment of hundreds of students. The corporate directive to sever those deep-rooted community ties in exchange for the artificial glitch of the California entertainment machine created a massive ideological conflict.
From a journalistic perspective, this represents the classic struggle between maintaining authentic human connection and submitting to the highly sanitized, manufactured existence of a corporate commodity. Industry insiders frequently warn that uprooting an artist from the very environment that cultivated their relatable charm often destroys their primary market appeal. Goodall acutely understood that his unique selling proposition was entirely wrapped in his blue-collar authenticity. By actively resisting the intense managerial pressure to purchase a Hollywood estate and assimilate into the celebrity elite, He essentially staged a quiet rebellion against the established pop culture metrics. This geographical tug-of-war highlighted the toxic assumption that immense talent must naturally desire a lifestyle of extreme excess and geographical displacement. Goodall's agonizing decision-making process exposed the ruthless nature of talent management, where executives view hometown loyalty as a quaint liability rather than a fundamental character strength. Ultimately, the battle over his residential zip code became a defining metaphor for his entire career trajectory, forcing him to draw a definitive line in the sand between the singing janitor the world fell in love with and the polished, disconnected pop star the industry aggressively wanted him to become.
We now turn our reporting to the most physically and psychologically demanding phase of the reality television victory lap, the highly publicized Las Vegas residency. While network broadcasts heavily market the Las Vegas stage as the ultimate glamorous reward for winning the competition, our behind-the-scenes investigative audit reveals a much darker, grueling reality. The transition from performing a handful of carefully curated songs over a period of several months on television to executing a nightly, high-impact headline show on the Las Vegas Strip is a notoriously brutal gauntlet. Corporate promoters and casino executives demand absolute perfection, requiring performers to deliver peak vocal gymnastics and flawless crowd work, regardless of physical exhaustion or vocal cord fatigue. For a performer like Goodall, who did not possess decades of rigorous, specialized stamina training required for nightly arena shows, this contractual obligation operated as a literal trial by fire. Entertainment correspondents have long documented how the neon-soaked environment of a Vegas residency functions as a high-stakes industrial assembly line designed to extract the maximum possible revenue from a television star before their cultural relevance inevitably cools down.
The grueling schedule strips away the spontaneous magic of a viral television performance, replacing it with a heavily mechanized, repetitive grind that frequently pushes artists to the absolute brink of physiological burnout. Goodall was forced to rapidly adapt to a punishing lifestyle of strict vocal rest, highly regulated dietary management, and intense performance anxiety, all while operating under the watchful, unforgiving eyes of major casino investors. This phase of his post-television career highlights the intense commodification of human talent in the modern era. The media portrayed the Las Vegas residency as a permanent victory lap, but our reporting confirms it was actually the most dangerous test of his entire professional life, requiring him to fiercely protect his physical instrument and his mental stability from an entertainment infrastructure that is notoriously designed to consume artists whole and discard them when their voices finally give out under the desert lights. In concluding our special investigative report on Richard Goodall, we analyze his current trajectory and the strategic maneuvers he has executed to protect his peace in the aftermath of massive global exposure.
Unlike the vast majority of reality television alumni who desperately cling to the fringes of the spotlight through controversial stunts or predatory contracts, our current intelligence indicates that Goodall has orchestrated a highly calculated, quiet escape from the toxic epicenter of the music industry. By actively sidestepping the relentless pressure to remain a trending topic, he has fundamentally redefined the metric of success for a modern talent show champion. He has successfully utilized the financial security generated by his historic victory to permanently stabilize his family's future, without allowing the corrosive elements of the Hollywood machinery to infect his personal integrity. From a news desk perspective, Goodall's story is a remarkable anomaly. He entered a broadcasting system that is historically engineered to manufacture drama, exploit vulnerability, and ultimately discard talent. Yet he managed to extract the ultimate prize while retaining his complete ideological sovereignty. He refused to let the corporate entertainment matrix overwrite his identity as a grounded, blue-collar worker from Indiana. By choosing when to step onto the stage, and more importantly, knowing exactly when to step away from the cameras, he has shielded himself from the psychological destruction that typically follows sudden, unearned fame. His journey forces a critical reevaluation of the reality television industry, prompting audiences to question the true cost of viral stardom. The man who swept the floors of a middle school proved that true power does not reside in appeasing record executives or chasing algorithmic validation. It resides in the absolute refusal to compromise your authentic self for public consumption. This concludes our extensive coverage of the Richard Goodall phenomenon, serving as a definitive reminder that sometimes the most profound victories in the entertainment business are achieved by simply refusing to play the industry's rigged game.